Rachel Seifert reporting. Well, in case you're wondering, we're in the Scottish Highlands at the Aegis Field Centre in Beaulieu, about 12 miles west of Inverness. They've been running conservation projects, including the reintroduction of Scottish wildlife and other schemes for more than 30 years. I'm joined now by Professor Des Thompson from Scottish Natural Heritage, who was in that report of Rachel Seifert's and who has contributed to this report, and Alan Hodgson from the Scottish Gamekeepers Association. Des Thompson, this is actually, in the end, although it's in very measured scientific tones, and indeed each claim in the report is actually colour-coded in an amazing way, so that you can see the ones that are weak and the ones that are very, very strongly evidenced. It's a pretty shocking report, isn't it?
Well, it's a fantastic report, but the evidence that it's presenting is shocking. And the great thing about this report is it's attaching confidence. Some of the facts and figures we can be certain about, others we need more research to be certain about. And the report's also describing what's happened so far and what's likely to happen in the future. And it's drawing on hundreds of people who have done research in this area.
And Alan, what it's saying is the countryside is changing right now in our lifetime as we see it each morning.
Yeah.
Do you accept that?
Yes.
You're a gamekeeper, yeah. You're across the land every day.
Yeah, I see big changes.
Like?
Well, from a climate side of things, ticks are moving higher and higher up the hill. But a lot of our songbirds and our waders are in pretty steep decline, but I wouldn't put all that down to climate change right enough. But
what else would you want to introduce?
More control on protected predators. There's an infinite number of them apparently, and there's no end.
You mean badgers and all that lot?
Badgers, you know, they're all your bumblebees and things like that. All need a little bit of help if it's going to be climate change.
We don't get a percentage in the report, do we, as to who is responsible for what?
No, but the report's very careful. It's saying that climate change is very complicated. And some of the changes interact with the sorts of land use changes you're describing, whether it's grazing or drying out of peat or a whole manner of other things. And that's what's so difficult about getting to grips with climate change. Some of the changes are very straightforward, others are sort of consequence of interactions with changes.
The thing that I was very shocked by was the warming of periods of the year that have not been anything like this warm
It's just
before.
the number of extreme weather events. It's just amazing.
What the gamekeepers, and in a sense you could be talking for the whole fraternity, surely do have responsibility for is you're killing a good number of elements of the food chain. Take them out and another animal further up the chain dies.
Nature hates a vacuum sort of thing.
But you create that, you get it vacuum, don't you?
Well, one thing always steps in if you create a food supply, which is what we do. We create a high number of game birds, and there's a sort of byproduct of that. Waders and other birds benefit from that. So there's always something going to try and come in and take advantage of that, for sure. But
so what should we be doing? I mean, is it too late? In a way, you read this and you think, well, what am I going to do?
No, it's not too late. And I mean, that's the great opportunity we have now is to adapt our management. Take our peatlands, great example. Our peatlands are drying out with changing climate. By putting in dams, by trying to restore the water table, we can revive the great biodiversity interest. We can help
try telling George Osborne, or indeed the Scottish Parliament, that they've got to start spending money on the peatlands. They're going to say, I'm sorry, we're going to have to deal with the welfare
And we
bill.
would say, if you don't do it, it'll cost you more. If you look at the cost of cleaning water coming out of eroding peatlands, you have to spend millions of pounds to clean the water. So actually, if you get the restoration practices right, if you try and revive these habitats, in particular the peatlands, you're going to produce cleaner water, you're going to have a more vibrant wildlife, you're going to have people much healthier.
Are you up for this, Alan?
Well, I mean, a lot of the management in the Highlands is paid for by private individuals. The Scottish Government needs to make Scottish countryside attractive to people with money, not unattractive.
And we're not just talking about Scotland. This has implications. Well, this report is right across Britain.
Yeah.
And it's uniform.
It is. And I think, you know, we're lucky. The Scottish Government, agencies and others, you know, get this. They get the importance of this. That's why governments contributed to this report.
Well, I think the most surprising thing is actually that DEFRA, the British government, actually asked for this report asked your people
Yeah.
to prepare it. That is a major indication the government accepts climate change as a crisis.
It accepts we need to do something about it, John. And this is the beginning.
There's been so much talk, though.
Yeah,
When are we going to see the walk?
Well, we're seeing it, you know, in terms of peatland restoration, real progress being made. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to manage the landscape now. We've got to manage the habitats in order that we can start reversing the changes.
And manage the wildlife to give them a little bit of a
Help
chance.
the wildlife.
Thank you both very warmly for talking with us in this spectacular spot. And if you want to know more, including what you can do to help the wildlife, even in your own back garden and beyond, go to our website, channel4.com/news. I think you'll also find links to the report itself. Much more from Scotland later in the programme, but for now, let's go back to Kathy in London.
Thanks, John. You look rather precarious on that lakeside.